pushover 97.
In that huge big wharf, you might not believe it, but there's about 7,000 people totally going off. Who's your favourite Australian band?
Spidermate.
All ages drug and alcohol-free event. And
Groaning.
Do you have anything else you want to say?
Hi, Mum.
Oh, they believe in me. The push, run by kids.
Not many organisations in the music industry get to celebrate their 30th birthday. For the Push, it's been quite a ride. With acts like John Farnham, Crowded House and Hunters and Collectors at the top of their game. In 1986, music in Australia was massive. But if you were a kid and you didn't have a fake ID, your entertainment choices were limited.
Unemployment was high. There wasn't a lot of training going on in those days. It was actually the then Labor government, Steve Crabb, who had this idea that he wanted to start a club. Originally, the way he described it was a little bit like the Scouts, and I was like, I don't think that'll work. But to their credit, they wanted to really connect with young people, and the best way we could do it was obviously through something that was attractive, which was rock and roll.
From humble beginnings, the Push quickly began to grow, with young people starting clubs across Victoria and staging underage live music events across the state.
We also wanted to connect with the regions. Places like Ballarat and Broadmeadows and Frankston, they were the sort of first 3 clubs that we set up.
There are now workshops for inner city kids keen to pursue the finer points of the hip-hop culture. Dancing, microphone rhyming and aerosol art. Reporter Alan Atkinson hopped along to one of the workshops.
From its inception, young people have always been at the forefront of the Push, driving and shaping the work of the organisation.
if you don't value the person you're booking it for, then it's not going to be a successful event. And that's why it differentiates the Push from everyone else, because it is for the youth and it's run by the youth.
It's really important to the Push, I think, that gigs are really safe spaces for people, especially considering for a lot of young people, like a Push show might be the first live music experience that they have.
There's a stigma around putting on those shows and getting to them and just accessing that sort of stuff. So I think what the Push does is great, you know, enabled venues and enabled artists and promoters to be able to do more stuff and get involved.
It's really important to recognise that the way that young people are creating and consuming music now is very different to how they were even 10 years ago.
Alongside the shows, the Push have developed countless programs and opportunities for young people to develop skills, take up industry mentorships and spark connections within the music community.
Definitely in the country, it always seemed like it was a hassle to have any shows that kids can go to. And that was something that was really awesome about Freezer running events in my town. It seemed like less of a burden to the grown-ups.
All over the country, people were realising that this formula worked, that the Push was really helping young people and it was helping bands as well.
It's extremely important to play underage shows and bring bands to underage audiences, because that is the future of the music industry.
The Push was growing from strength to strength and demand for underage events was increasing. And then in 1992 came a monumental event.
Push Over, the ultimate all-ages event featuring Hoodoo Gurus, John Stevens, Tism, Screaming Jets, Fashion Parade.
The Push Over just come from somewhere, I don't even know where.
5,000 young people came together at the exhibition buildings for a 12-hour festival. The success of this initial event kicked off 21 years of Push Over festivals.
How you going, fellas? Having a good one?
Awesome. Yeah, right.
Push Over quickly became a key event on Melbourne's music calendar, inducting tens of thousands of young people to the music festival phenomena.
You had this sense of excitement, a sense of guidance, and at the same time, we're going to pull off something big.
We run drug and alcohol-free events all around Victoria. I'm sure many people in the audience here have been to a Push event or two.
It was also the perfect way of having a lot of young people gather a lot of very good, useful information. sort of like this hub of kids hanging out and talking and being able to pick up information and at the same time have a fabulous day.
The kids who went to those first push gigs at the end of the 80s and 90s now have kids of their own, which means the push story is far from over.
2 years ago, there was the first Live at the Steps event, and then the next year, Live at the Steps like doubled, and all these young people kind of realising that live music was definitely an option for them.
How cool is this, yeah? Live near the steps.
Yeah, it's near the steps, guys. Oh man, we got a lineup for you tonight.
There were so many kids, and I remember like standing on one of the storage boxes and just looking out. I mean, like, there is so many kids. Like, this is all the people who want more and all ages shows. Like, you can see like the demand right here.
They are the funnest things to play because everyone just gets so into it.
The programs and events have taken many shapes and forms, but in principle, the ethos still remains the same.
A few kids around Doncaster approached the push because they wanted some, entertainment out that way, and so they formed the Dare Club.
It wasn't just, well, okay, we put a band on and everybody comes. We want you to get involved in that process.
We think that kids should take responsibility for their own entertainment and not just ask adults to provide it, that sort of thing.
Every aspect that goes into producing a gig, we were working on with those kids. So from day one, we knew that it was going to be a hands-on job.
Youth do have heaps of input in the organisation through the Youth Advisory Committee and through the mentoring programs. How the organisation functions, youth are definitely very integral to that.
It adds a lot, letting kids see that this is like a possibility. You can do this when you're older, you can do it now.
The pushover concert is at the Dots this year, 1995.
When you were so young and trying to figure out who you are as a person and how you fit into this world, the push is somewhere where they say, hey, it's okay to figure it out.
30 years on, after a stack of initiatives and huge events in different shapes and forms, the push continues to work closely with the local community, looking out for and supporting emerging talent.
Shane, did you get much of a chance to have a look around while you were at the pushover?
Yeah, I did. There was 3 stages and a dance stage, heaps of bands, lots of young people.
Really what we wanted to do was break the bands.
You're playing with Marilyn Manson and all these mental bands.
Give them the opportunity that a new manager or a new booking agency could see them, that the media could see them and write about them. And that started to work, to the point where sometimes we couldn't book them anymore.
This book here, it's a Young Players Guide. It's produced by The Push. It's just something for young bands that are getting going. Tell them all about the industry, about recording, about managing, just about getting gigs, and just to help them avoid all the pitfalls.
It's really vulnerable to be in music in general.
1,200 on commission? What bullshit! I'm still owed $600.
We'll pay you, Ronnie, you know that.
Kids are like, hey, I'm a musician. I've got this sense of vulnerability that I really want to offer on the table. They support that.
There's not many resources other than the push, and if I hadn't found it, I don't know if I would be still playing guitar and playing gigs.
It's important at a young age, before you go into a licensed premise, to understand and be educated about why you're there. It's you're there for the music, and there's something really important in community connection and finding your sense of place in the world.
There's definitely no other organisation like it in Australia, but there's so much room for it.
The future of the push will be really strong as long as we ensure that we have young people front and centre, advise us on what this organisation needs to be. And I can't even imagine what it could look like in another 30 years' time. That just blows my mind.
As it grew, I knew damn well we had something pretty special. I knew that the push was special. It comes from passion and it comes from excitement, and it's great to see new blood come in and have new, fresh ideas. It's the way it's meant to be, Did I think it would last 30 years? No. Did I think I'd be here today talking to you? No. But yeah, it's awesome.
That's us. Join up.
Lo and behold, lukewarm lounge, lizards, it is over. Lonely and lost no more, you are found with a push. You are found with a push.
The Push has new rock music clubs in Victoria. They're situated at Ballarat, Frankston, Broadmeadows, Oakley, Geelong, Doncaster, Bendigo, Inner Melbourne, Echuca and Colac. For more information, ring the Push on 417 1655 or write to the Push at Suite 5, number 10 Hoddle Street, Abbotsford 3067.